would you be able to tell us how this nexus, you briefly touched upon it, but how does this nexus in the PIL world work? How do they wake up the judges in the middle of the night for things of their choice, whereas the cases pertaining to freeing temples under the government control not being released, that case is still pending in Supreme Court for donkey years. There are so many cases which court never cares for it. But then how do these people manage it? How does this ecosystem work? You are in the Supreme Court, you have been in the High Court, you know this, and you are in Delhi. So you know how the Lutyens gangs work. So probably you are the best person to tell us how this whole ecosystem of PIL and litigant nuisance that happens in India works.
See, I am also the standing counsel for JNU.
Yeah, I told you.
I am representing JNU in all the cases every day. And I'm facing these people every day in court. Yeah. And that's why I'm a part of it now. I can say that. I'm part of the entire game. Yeah. What we see is, if I can say that for 70 years, the leftists and the Congress have ruled India. And as I said, that they occupy the mind space also, the political space also, and they have been in charge of recruitments also. And recruitments everywhere across all aspects or across all fields. They have recruited their own people. They have, even if they have idiots, they have given them scholarships, they have gone out, they have been given awards, and they come back as experts in that area. Then they write books. Those books are being quoted also. So from student till the vice chancellors and all other fields which I'm not mentioning for reasons, they have their people. Now what happens is that they don't have one person doing everything. They have the organizations and students, organizations and teachers, they have the people in judiciary, they have their people in law, they have their lawyers who are getting millions of rupees in, as alms, as donations. So they have their people in place. Now they have a central narrative which is essentially anti-Hindu. What happens is, these people are those who have been at the top of judiciary and legal field also. They have their nexus in the law organizations also. So when any of them says anything, it makes a ripple in the ocean, in their entire ecosystem. And believe me, they are well connected. It is not that today if I am tweeting and nobody will care about it. It is not that today Pragya Pravaha Hyderabad is doing a show and that's it. What they do is that they are so well connected, any small thing which happens anywhere, it is blown out of proportion. And they have the people to blow it. And they have been well paid for it also, and they have their ideological commitment also. Now, as I told you, they have the different armies, students, in teachers, in lawyers, in judicial system, in international system, international organizations, everywhere. Now what happens is, once this army gets initiated, everybody pitches in. Whatever they say is not isolated. If I can tell you, Islamophobia, this was being, in the last 1 week, I was following 1 or 2 Twitter handles. They were talking about Islamophobia. Then I saw how in Kuwait also, how in UAE also, people were talking about Islamophobia in the same language, same line. So number one, they are well connected. But when Modi government came and social media came, my God, these are their worst enemies because social media exposes them. Now about courts, what happens is I'm representing Army, Navy, Air Force in arbitrations also. So one of the judges who's retired from Supreme Court and is an arbitrator now, he told me, Monica, I was really saddened when at half past night, at midnight, these people came and these people talked about Yaqub Memon's hanging, and that should be postponed. Okay, why did the Supreme Court get up at that time? What was the need? What was the urgency? Okay, I was very, very angry at that time. But Monica, this ecosystem of lawyers and a few judges also, who are more than indulgent to this, and governments also, this helped them. I don't think they can do it now. These are persons who were in the government also and who were thinking of transferring an appointment of judges also. They had a say. So in fact, they pressurized. I remember in Ram Janmabhoomi case, they tried to pressurize the bench one way or the other way. They tried to threaten the bench with impeachment. If you remember, Justice Deepak Mishra was threatened with impeachment.
Yeah.
Kapil Sibal said, "I'll walk out." So people said, "Is it parliament or is it court that you are walking out? You remember where you are standing?"
Yeah.
And they were literally threatening all and sundry there. So these ecosystems are at work. They are not individuals. Their entire world works for them. So, but in the last 10 years, we are seeing that the nationalist forces are also building their ecosystems. If I can talk about, it's a very sensitive issue, if I can talk about Delhi riots. This time, if you remember, that when this Harsh Mandar and others, they took the issue of hate speeches of Kapil Mishra and Anurag and Pravesh Verma to the High Court, saying these are hate speeches and they led to incitement of offences. Kindly book FIRs against them. To the bench to whom it went, in fact, the bench was absent. The other bench was also absent. It went to the third bench. And the third bench, the Judge Saab said, "Okay, come after lunch. And Police Commissioner, you tell us, what are you doing about it?" And there was so much of pressure on the police that when the inputs were given, that these 3 speeches, plus there are 300 more speeches. So police right now is busy with controlling riots. There are people who are murdering and people who are being murdered. The police is there. And you're talking about 3 speeches which were delivered 1 month ago. They're not 3, but they're 300 speeches. All those things were told to the judge. Next day, it was a different bench then. And that bench, the Chief Justice bench, realized that the police cannot work in this knee-jerk reaction. Right now, they're on the ground. They're trying to contain the riot, stop the riot. And you are telling the police, out of 300 speeches given by Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi, ke aar paar ki ladai, what does that mean? Umar Khalid and so many more speeches, you're only picking up 3 speeches and giving. So that bench said, "Police, we give you 2 weeks time." You saw what happened between yesterday and today. So it is individual judges also. It is the litigants also. The same litigant, he went to Supreme Court saying, "Oh, Delhi government, Delhi High Court Chief Justice bench, they gave 2 weeks to the police to investigate these hate speeches of these 3 BJP leaders." By that time, social media had come out with the hate speeches of Harsh Mandar himself, where he was saying, "We have no faith in Supreme Court. Everything has to be decided on the streets." And when this was shown to the Chief Justice in Supreme Court, they said, "Nothing doing, keep the case aside. First you tell me you have faith in us or not." So slowly and steadily, with the coming of Modi government, that terror and that domination of theirs is going away. Neutral nationalist people are coming forward. Their ecosystem is crumbling. And yes, with social media, the content is there for the judges also to see who is right and who is wrong and who has what conduct. So those things like half midnight hearing and Delhi riot thing, I don't think these will be repeated very often. Now we have judiciary also, legal system also, and people also who are not pressurized, who can say what they want.